if you know me, I didn't come to Florida. Thank the Lord. I came from San Antonio. And I haven't been around as much as Brother Russell has. I've been back here since 1972, so that's about all there is to say about me. And but I'm glad to be here, and God has allowed me to pastor two churches, and I agree with a lot what he says about when you transition. I took a church back in 1974 down near Corpus Christi, and the good people. They had to be. I was 25 years old. And I'd been married 6 months, and I had no kids, and I knew everything. Because I can still remember saying, listen, I know I don't have any kids, but I'm going to tell you how it is. I said that. Oh, man, have I learned a lot since then. But turn to 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. And I was in that church for 10 years, and God allowed me to come back to San Antonio, which was really my heart's desire and had been since about 1971, when I was still in Bible college, and start the Leon Valley Baptist Church as a ministry out of the Town East Baptist Church. And, so we've been there now 35 years, and it has been a marvelous ride. I don't know anything about this Mack truck. Maybe a Toyota Tacoma. But it's been a great ride, but it has not been a ride without challenges. 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1, this is a true saying, if a man desire the office of a bishop, and I believe the bishop is the pastor, he desireth good work. Both words, desire, that is used are different, actually, Greek words, but they mean the same thing. But you really want it. And I really wanted to pastor. And that's what I felt like God put on my heart. I know I needed some time, but I wanted to do that for many, many years, before I became a pastor. And, the Bible says he desires a good work. It is. Okay? But being in a ministry to me, it's somewhat like living in the tropics on a beautiful island. I mean, you got nice weather all the time. You got sunshine, you got palm trees, you got nice beaches. And, that there's all these days of sunshine, and there's all the tropical foods that are just marvelous. I mean, all that fruit anytime you want it. And some of the problem is, this island is a long, long way from any major, large land piece. You can only get there by boat. And the island lies in the direct path of the tropical storm every year. And so while you have these days that you enjoy, you know there's going to be some rough storms ahead. And most pastors that I know love their calling. And most pastors enjoy what they do in the ministry. And I do. I'm going to turn 65 yesterday. Several years ago. Someone said, are you going to retire? I said, retire? What do you do when you retire? Well, you can do what you like to do then. Do what I like to do. I mean, I like to pastor. I mean, if I retired, I'd just be go begging someone else to let me preach. So, I mean, most people like what they do, most pastors. I mean, I say that most of the time. I have heard of a few. I remember when I first came to San Antonio, there was another pastor here, and I won't even tell you who he is or was, because he isn't now. But he said, I love what I do. I just don't like people. It's what it's all about. And most pastors would change their role if they could. But yet, we all know we have ongoing challenges and we have struggles. Pastoring has its rewards. It has its storms. We all enjoy the rewards. I mean, there are many things that I am blessed with right now that I greatly enjoy, but none of us would care for the storms, even though they're needful sometimes and they're helpful, and God always has a reason. Don't ever forget that. God always has a reason. And no matter what storm it may be, Paul speaks to the challenges of the ministry. Turn to 2 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 3. I gave you some notes, and we're not going to be able to read everything tonight. I'm going to take all my time. But you've got them, and you can look at them, and most of them you know, and so I'll just refer to them. But 2 Corinthians 3, and 2 Corinthians 1 and verse 3. Blessed be God, even the Father, our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort. I'm going to tell you what, you better hang on to that verse, and it's a good verse. But who comforts us in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble by the comfort wherewith we ourselves are comforted of God. For as the sufferings of Christ abound in us, so our consolation also aboundeth by Christ. And whether we be afflicted, it is for your consolation and salvation, which is effectual in the enduring of the same sufferings which we also suffer. Or whether we be comforted, it is for your consolation and salvation. And our hope of you is steadfast, knowing that as ye are partakers of the suffering, so shall ye also be also the consolation. And thus, for we would not, brethren, have you ignorant of our trouble, which came to us in Asia, that we were pressed out of measure, above strength, insomuch that we despaired even of life. But we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God which raiseth the dead, who delivered us from so great a death, and doth deliver, in whom we trust that he will yet deliver, ye also helping together by prayer for us, for that the gift bestowed upon us by the means of many persons, thanks may be given by many on your behalf. We're not going to go into the passage. I think you may have studied it before, but whatever it is, Paul went through an enormous, difficult time in Asia, and he says he was pressed out of measure. Storms have causes, okay? A hurricane, for example, they form over the warm ocean water of the tropics, and when that warm moisture air over the water rises, then it is replaced by cooler air. That cooler air gets warm and it starts to rise. And if there's enough warm water, the cycle continues and the storm clouds and the wind speeds grow, causing a hurricane. You know that. We've lived down in this part of the country a long time. Of course, from Florida, he really knows about that. But, you know, storms have causes. And so I have to ask myself, what are the causes of some of the storms that we face, and what do we do in the storm? Now, I'm going to try to stay with, just kind of give them all these thoughts. You've got some paper you can write on, and you can just think about it, meditate it long. There's a lot to say here. But what are some of the storms? What are some of the causes, and what do we do? Well, we have relational storms, okay? You know the story of Paul and Barnabas. It's found in Acts 15, verse number 36 and 39. These two men began, and they formed a great team. Barnabas really went out and found Paul. He mentored him. He led him. He encouraged him, and they went out together. They were a good team, okay? But a conflict arose. The conflict that caused them to go their separate ways. We do not hear of Barnabas much after that. You didn't hear about John Mark again? I think that Paul made amends with him. I'm not saying he did not make amends with Barnabas. I'm not saying God did not use Barnabas. But we don't ever hear of him and Paul having a working relationship again. It's just the fact that they split up there. And pastoring is a ministry of relationships. That's what it's all about. And maintaining the right relationships with all people can be challenging. You see, when relationships go wrong, the storm that results can be very severe. in relationships. Now, there can be relation problems, relationship challenges between a pastor and his wife. You know, just because you're married or she's married to a pastor doesn't mean everything's right. And, you know, as pastors, we've got to really work and work hard and making sure that our relationship with our wife is good. And, you know, she's a sinner. And so are you. You know, and she has her stubborn ways, and so do you. And you haven't been married very long. I don't know how many young married men we have here. But I'm tell you what, the longer you stay married, the more you realize you both have issues. Okay, both have issues. And but the thing is that they can be. Now, sometimes the wife is not fully on board with the ministry or the place of ministry. And if she's not on board with you being in the ministry and in the place where God has put you in, you know, I agree wholeheartedly with what Brother Russell said. You got to be in the place there because God has a place for everybody. And so they can be that. So I mean, I'm just going to give you these things and move quickly. Relationship challenges can be between the pastor and his church members. And I've had my deal of those, share of those, okay? And, you know, you don't know these people. And I don't say it negatively, totally, but, you know, I remember I went to sell my house one time. But didn't list it with a certain person. And then at the church. Because, and there were reasons why I did not feel I could list it with that person. A lot of reasons. One was my wife didn't want it with them. Just felt they were overbearing in their way of doing things. You know, these things. In my first church, I remember, and I tried to visit hospitals, and but I remember a lady that was there when I was there. She had a baby, and I wasn't there when the baby was born, and she was not happy. And you know, it caused issues and things like that. You know, sometimes you can just not say something to somebody at church. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I get distracted. I've got my mind on something, and I can walk right by somebody and not say anything, and they can look at me like, and I don't even know they're there. And then they'll tell me something later. I said, well, throw a song, look at me. I don't care. If it's going to bother you, get my attention. You know, because, you know, these are relationship issues there. You know, I've had people get angry when I'm preaching because they think I'm preaching about them. You are preaching at me. Now, hey, if you've been in this long, you cannot help but realize if I say that, that's going to hit somebody. Right. Well, what do you do? Lord, I ain't saying that. Well, you know, but I don't intend, I'm not going to say I never have, because I probably have got in the flesh in terms of, well, I hope Deacon so-and-so gets this point. You know, I've probably been in the flesh. So I don't try to do it, okay? And yet it happens. So you have relationships or relationship challenges in your church. Then you have relationship challenges between the pastor and staff. That can happen. And I've had my issues. And I'll be honest, I had an issue many years ago, and I did not handle the conflict initially in a correct way, and therefore it only escalated. Okay? I mean, you can't say it's always somebody else's fault. Right? You know, you are just as fallible as anybody else, and so am I. At times, you may have a staff member that's just not willing to be right. Yeah. And they're not willing to fall in line. They're not willing to cooperate. And, you know, everybody's going to have different opinions. I don't know about you. I'm not too interested in staff who just, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. I got to think of everything that way. I want somebody with some ideas. Look at everything. you know, and so forth. But I do appreciate people who are willing to do what, they need to be doing, and will follow the leadership of the pastor, okay? And, I don't mind saying I'm saying because I appreciate Luther Free. He's been with me, I don't know, a couple of days anyway, 25 years. And, many years ago I thought, I really need you to do the school. He didn't come on board to do the school. But he did it. That was months ago. I really need you here. Talk to me. I think if I leave it, if it was totally his idea, he might just stay in the school. I don't know. But, cooperation. Some people don't want to cooperate. Right. And you're going to have problems. Relationship challenges can be between people, the pastor, and even people outside the church. I mean, they're just angry. I mean, everybody. The thing is, you're going to have relationship issues. That's one of the stories. Let me move on. So there'll be church-related conflicts. Now, in Acts chapter 6, where, there was murmuring of the Grecians among the Hebrews because their widows were neglected. Okay? Philippians 2, 4 rather, I beseech you, Odious and Syntyche, to be of the same mind. All right, 1 Corinthians 1:11, it's been declared to me that there are contentions among you. 1 Corinthians 3, there are divisions among you. All right? You're going to have these issues as well. Now, you may say, well, isn't that a relation issue as well? That's a relation issue, but it's not necessarily an issue between you and the person, okay? Because all of us are relational people. And, you and I will have relationship challenges with other people. But then as a pastor, you're going to have to deal with relationship challenges that are among others, okay? You're trying to mediate, moderate, solve, deal with the problems and so forth. And sometimes it can be really stormy there. And the thing is, when we fail to deal with conflicting people in a biblical, spiritual way, the outcome can be devastating. And they can be over such foolish things. A few years ago, I had two families, and neither one are here now. But one had a teenage son, one had a teenage daughter. The teenage boys at that age were just, ooh, la, la, la. The other family was, oh, no. and by the way, nothing really wrong with either one of the kids. They're just kids. But the mothers got cross with each other. And, in the communication, I sat down and I talked with one of them, the father, and I tried to reason with him. He said, no. And they left the church. They just left. Because they would not deal with it. I said, y'all need to go and you need to work this thing out. I mean, if you don't want your daughter dating at this point in life, just say so. But, you're going to have those issues. There could be many other things there as well. But when you're dealing with people who are at odds with each other, you've got to be objective, unbiased, and you've got to give biblical, sound biblical advice. You got to do that, all right? So these are some of the things that we're going to have as well. We've got to keep up. Now, probably one of the things that's the most difficult is we have personal attacks on yourself. Yeah. And if you read 2 Corinthians 11, and really all of the book of Corinthians deals with this. 2 Corinthians, we're not going to look at all these or any of them, but you know this, that the Corinthian church is always attacking the Apostle Paul and his claim to apostleship. And, you're not really an apostle, you're not this, and why do we need to listen to you, and just on and on and on and on and on. And, I can understand how you might have felt there. But people attack us in many ways. And because these are usually on our personality, and many times they have no substance to them, they can be difficult to handle. Sometimes you want to say, give me a 57. Let me just deal with this thing in the old-fashioned Texas way. But you can't do that today. I'm not get away with it anyway. But we have to learn to deal with them, because if we do not handle them correctly, even though there may not be any substance to what's being said, if we do not handle them correctly, then we are only going to cause a storm of great magnitude to develop. That can be a storm that we're actually causing because we're not dealing with it correct. Now, there may be attacks on your leadership style. You're a dictator. That's all you're going to get. Oh, able to make the decisions. If you lead, you're a dictator. And if you step back, don't you ever know what's going on?
Yes.
If you ask, what's going on this? Are you micromanaging me? If you don't, then how come you don't know what's going on? Aren't you the pastor? If anything goes wrong, it's your fault. You just have to go at what God has given us to. We are to be the leaders. All right. I mean, but there is a difference in being a leader and a dictator, okay? And so there'll be attacks on your preaching style. I've had this many years ago. I got so tired of this that I don't know, probably 20 years ago, I started every sermon I have, I've recorded in the calendar, and I have a what's called the kind of calendar we get done, those big old calendars, book calendars that we buy. Calendar. I don't know. It's got the whole bunch at a glance. Huh? Planner. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. It's a planner. Okay. You make somebody to help you. You got another year. I will give you another year. So I write it on Sunday. I write down what I preach on Sunday morning. I write what I preach on Sunday night. I write what I preach on Wednesday night. I write the passage. I write the sermon title. I write where it's filed away. Because I got tired of this. All you ever do is preach the gospel. That's all we ever hear here is the gospel, the gospel, the gospel. And we're not getting fed. So now, if anybody gets that, oh, no. Let's look at what I have preached for the last 6 months. But you know, since I started doing that, nobody says that to me. And I said, oh, give me this time. I'm going to read my sermons for 6 months. And do I get the gospel in? Yes. And sometimes I preach a message primarily gospel. I did this past Sunday. And God was in it, by the way. You know, my message title was, what's your testimony? And I had a guy that I visited on Saturday, visited our church the week before, and they're looking at joining the church, and I talked to him. He said he was saved. He told me. I said, okay. I mean, I never said that and say no. I really had no reason to think he wasn't. So one after Sunday school, he met me. He said, I need to talk to you after church. So I have a problem with this. My testimony I gave. So really? I said, you just listen to the sermon real close. You got saved. I believe God was in that. Yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't 100% of salvation, but it was directed mostly at people that need to be saved. And I'm going to do that at times. But, it doesn't matter what you preach. People are going to say something about that. I mean, you preach the gospel too much. You're too much of a hellfire and brimstone preacher. Oh, you just preach one sermon on hell. If you're a hellfire and brimstone preacher. Or you preach too much on sin. And, all we want to hear is about the love of God. You know what I'm talking about. And you get this all the time. And, you just have to learn to deal with it. There's times you just got to get thick skin. And sometimes say, well, I appreciate your advice. And don't tell them what you're really thinking. You're trying to avoid storms, not create them. There'll be attack on your personality style. You're just too friendly with everybody, and you don't have the respect of people. I remember when I went in this, So you need to stay up here and all respect you if they get to know. Well, I'm a people person, okay? And, if you're not getting to know them, then you're too elusive, and they think you're a snob. Or you're on a pedestal and you think you're better than them. If you have people that you are actually friendly with, you don't need to be outside the regular church stuff, then, you got a limited number of friends and they get all your attention. You spend all your time with them. That happens, okay? You're in the office too much. You ought to be out visiting the people. How come you're never in the office when we come out to see you? It doesn't matter, okay? You joke and laugh too much in the pulpit. You ought to honor the pulpit. It's not mixed. I don't know whether they call it God's death, but I've heard it called that. But then if you don't, you're on sourpuss. So, if you stand there and you try to look serious, and then you look like you're weaned on lemon juice. So, they'll thank you for something. Which then they'll thank you family. Yeah. How many of you have a perfect family? They'll attack your family. Your wife's not involved enough. She ought to be more involved in the church. What does she think she got to run everything? Yeah. It doesn't matter. By the way, your kids are misstating. Like mine are the only ones? Yeah. I got some interesting ones. Yeah, right. If you react negatively to any of these, it can cause a storm of unprecedented proportion. And when these cause us to descend into the storm, what do we do? And that's what I want to talk about for a few minutes this evening, leading some quick thoughts for you. And there's many other storms that we go through. I really just kind of focus on storms in the church itself. They're personal storms, and sometimes they're very hard to handle. That's another topic altogether. But when you're in the storm, what do? We'll turn to Acts 27 in your Bible. And Paul was in a storm here that could have been avoided. Okay? Had they stayed in the port, as Paul had suggested, they would never ended up in the storm. But they didn't listen to Paul, and now they're in the midst of the storm. So what do we do? Well, I'm just going to give you these thoughts, and hopefully you'll just take them home and think about them. Number one, don't fight the storm. Look at verse 15. And when the ship was caught, could not bear up into the wind, we let her drive. Sometimes there's storms you can't fight, and you just got to let them pass. You got to allow it to run its course, so to speak. David was in a constant storm with Saul. And David could have attacked Saul, but he said, Lord, I'm leaving it in your hands. And in God's time, God dealt with the issue. I think sometimes we cause the storm to be worse because we attack it instead of just letting it be. I'm not saying that we sit back and let people run over us in the wrong way or anything like that, but that just sometimes we gotta let it go. Okay? But then when you're in the storm, do what you can. Do what can be done. And there are some things. Look at verse 16. And running under a certain island, which is called Florida, we had much work, notice, to come by the boat, which when they had taken up, they used helps undergirding the ship, and fearing lest they should fall into quicksands, strake sail, and were so driven. Do what can be done, okay? From that thought, strengthen yourself. I mean, find your help from the Lord. Get alone with God. Let the Word of God become that which strengthens you in every difficult time. And I'm telling you, God's Word will, okay? God's Word will strengthen you. I've again found that so marvelously and, thank God, wonderfully true in the last couple of weeks for myself. That the Word of God can be a strength to you, okay? But you got to get in the Word if you want it to strengthen you. You got to get into the Word of God if you want to do that. And so strengthen yourself and change direction if need be. Okay? He says there, they undergo the ship and unless they should follow quicksand, straight sail. And so they made a slight change in course in this capacity. And so we need to be careful. Remember this, we're not always right about everything. Right. We think we have the answer to everything. Don't be afraid of the advice of others. Sometimes if you sit and listen to what someone's saying, it may shed light on the situation you've never considered. All right? The worst thing in the world is to think that we have all the answers. And then my way is the only way. My way is the highway. No, there are a lot of different ways, okay? And so we keep that in mind. And there's number 3, get rid of unnecessary weight. Okay? In verse number 18 and 19, and we being exceedingly tossed with a tempest, the next day they lightened the ship. And the third day we cast out with our own hands the tackling of the ship. Verse number 38, it says, and when they had eaten, that's not the verse I will read, excuse me. When they had eaten, they lightened the ship and cast out the wheat into the sea. All right, they got rid of some things. Now they're in a storm, and in those days, those ships weren't too big, okay? And they're just getting rid of things to make the ship lighter and ride a little higher in the waves in that capacity. And so, we may be carrying around things that we need to get rid of. Maybe some bitterness. Okay? Get rid of it. Maybe we have an unforgiving spirit. Get rid of it. Maybe a prejudiced mentality. Get rid of it. Maybe unnecessary pride. Get rid of it. You see, the thing is, when we're in a storm, God may be saying, I need you to see something here. God may be showing you or me something we need to get rid of. And, these are some things that we have to do, okay? Moving on quickly here. Don't lose hope. Verse number 20. He said, and when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest lay on us all hope that we should be saved was taken away. But now look at verse number 22. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. You know what? Paul didn't lose hope. They lost hope, but he didn't lose hope. And I tell you, in the storm, don't lose hope. Okay? Because the security is not in us, it's in God. And God is God, and He always will be God. Okay? And He's still the sovereign God of the universe. And God is in control. And so don't lose hope in these things. All right? The next thing. Verse 23. Remember whose you are and who you are. Look at verse 23. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve. So never forget in the storm that you belong to God. And you are God's servant. Okay, that's not pride, not arrogance. Right. God, I'm serving you. God, I got a storm. And God, I need you. And don't forget who you belong to. This is so important. Verse 24. Stay focused on the end. Say, fear not, Paul, for thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God hath given thee all them that sail in the ship. You see, Paul had appealed to Caesar. He set out on a voyage to go to Rome. And God stands before him that night and says, don't forget, you are going to Rome. So Paul didn't lose sight of the end. Okay, well, what is our end? Someday stand before Jesus Christ. And hopefully hear him say, well done. I've good and faithful servant. And stay focused on the end. Yeah, we're going through some kind of rough times and difficult times, but keep your eyes focused on the end. The storm will end someday. Right. By the way, it's usually the end of this life. If it doesn't end of this life, the end will be standing before Jesus. Yeah. And so don't stay focused. All right. Then verse 25 reminds us that we need to continue to minister during the storm. Yeah. All right. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God that it shall be even as we're told. You know, he's encouraging people. Yeah. I mean, they're in this storm down the Mediterranean, ships being bounced around, water's coming over the side, and Paul's encouraging them. He's ministering to them. Yeah. And when we're in the storm, we need to continue to minister, okay? And then, verse 31, when you're in the storm, continue to express your faith. All right? Despite the obvious. Okay? In verse 31, Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, except these abide in the ship, that you cannot be saved. You see, some of them had decided to take the ship that they drug along behind them, they want to cut them loose, get the ship, and go away. And Paul said, they got to stay in the ship or they can't be saved. Hey, the obvious was the ship was going to sink. The obvious was they're all going to die. Yeah. You know what he's doing? He is expressing his faith despite the obstacle. Sometimes when you look what's ahead, there's nothing but darkness, despair. But you can have faith in God. And that's what we've got to have, even in the storms. And then keep a sense of normality in your life while you're in the storm. Verse 34. Wherefore I pray you take some meat, for this is for your health, for there shall not a hair fall from the head of any of you. Meat, eating, our eating is a normal thing we do. Then in the middle of a storm, here's time to stop eating. They needed to. They needed to for their health. But you see, it's keeping a certain amount of normalcy in your life. Because if you get all stressed out, all out of shape, well, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do that. You're not going to be any value to anybody. Sit down and eat. Try to keep the life going as it should be. Okay? Just do those things. And continue to give thanks. Verse 35. And when he had thus spoken, took bread and gave thanks to God in the presence of them all. You know, I've always taught for years, and I learned this over town East one time many years ago. Preacher was preaching. You need to give thanks to God and okay. Thank you, God. Thanks for the opportunity. I can't give thanks for all. He said, in the Bible says give thanks for all. You know, God wants you to give thanks in and for all things. How can you do that? By faith. Because God is God, and there is no greater expression of your submission to God than when you can say, Lord, I thank you, though I don't understand what's because you're simply saying, God, you're in control. To give thanks. And lastly, don't despair when it gets worse. Yeah. Verse 40, and when they'd taken up the anchors, they committed themselves unto the sea, and loosed the rudder bands, and hoisted the mainsail unto the wind, and made toward the shore, and falling into a place where two seas met, they ran the ship aground, and the forefront struck fast and remained unmovable, but the hinder part was broken with the violence of the weight. It got worse. And so, don't despair. Why the storm? Why? Well, sometimes we cause them. I understand that. But even in that, in every situation, God is teaching us a lesson. In everything, God is teaching us lessons. In every situation, listen, in every situation where you learn the lesson, God will increase your ministry and your effectiveness. When you learn the lesson. Because if we don't learn the lesson, we just can't help. Storms come, but God has the ability to overcome storms. Let's pray. Father, I know that storms are a part of our life.